So, good afternoon, all. I am Shubham. Again, we are there to discuss test number 3, in which we have already discussed last 10 questions, and the remaining questions from 11 to 20 we will be discussing in this lecture. Okay. So, I have already talked about the basic approach that is needed for geography and society questions. If you have not gone through the last lecture, please go through that lecture, and then we can continue from tomorrow. From today, the question number 11 to 20. Okay. So now question number 11 in that particular test is talking about what do you understand by urban heat island effect? Mention the factors that give rise to this phenomenon. What is the question? Question is about urban heat island effect. Urban heat island. Now, in this question, you can just initially define what is this urban heat island. You can define that the area in which urban setup is there experiences higher temperature as compared to the area like rural areas nearby. For example, the Pune city. Pune city will be having around 3 to 4 degrees Celsius temperature higher than the rest of the area nearby Pune city. Why it is happening? Because there is a lot of carbon emission. Okay, carbon emission is there from various industries that is leading to again global warming. Okay, global warming. And also there are specific reasons for why this particular phenomenon is happening. We will see those reasons. Let us just try to give the structure of the question first. So question talks about what do you understand by urban heat island effect. So initially you have to just mention what is urban heat island effect. Okay. Then mention the factors that are responsible to give rise to this phenomenon. Okay. So in that you can mention various human-made factors. For example, you can talk about the use of maybe vehicles, private vehicles. Okay, private vehicles. So we are using four-wheelers that are emitting carbons. Lot of carbon emission is happening there. Okay. Then another reason is like deforestation that has already taken place because of various developmental projects that we are carrying out, and that deforestation has reduced the carbon absorbing capacity or carbon sink, as we say. Okay, that has also been reduced. Then you always know that we are using excess amount of electricity. For example, gadgets like AC, air conditioning, etc. These emitting greenhouse gases as well as ozone depleting substances. Okay, then these greenhouse gases again leading to impact of having trapping of heat. Okay, so that is also there. Then also we are having excessive concretization. Like there is no space available for the water to percolate down under the ground. Percolation of water has been reduced to a greater extent. We have been using the material like asphalt, which is considered to be highly heat absorbing material. We are using that in our building construction. That is also another reason for why the urban heat island effect is happening. Also, you can talk about the other reasons like presence of the heat absorbing building construction material. Okay, so all these you can mention in this particular answer. Anything apart from this, you can mention transportation system. We have already mentioned four-wheelers are there, heavy vehicles are there. Okay, heavy vehicles. These are also highly carbon emitting things. So that is about the body part. Okay, you can mention that body part. Heat absorbing, here you can mention the dark material that is used for decoration purposes is also absorbing heat to a greater extent. And this is about body part. And to conclude this answer, you can mention that there can be some way forward in a way to mitigate that thing. Okay, first can be use of the material which is having high albedo effect. Okay, so a material which can reflect heat back into the space. Then there you can talk about afforestation drives that we can carry out in the maybe mountainous region, hilly region. Okay, you can talk about Varje Malavadi's model in which afforestation is being carried out on hilly areas. Same model can be replicated in various other cities. Thirdly, you can talk about public transportation system which can be strengthened. Okay, public transportation. This will also reduce the uh, transportation. This will also reduce what? This will also reduce the amount of carbon that are being emitted. In way forward, you can just mention this as a conclusion part. Okay, so we will see the question number 12. Now see, uh, question number 12 talks about explain volcanic formations and their types and structures associated with it with relevant examples. Okay, so they have just asked like volcanic formations. You have to define volcanic formations. Now, what is volcano? Volcano is like geomorphic process in which lava comes out. Okay, as a part of release of energy. Okay, lava comes out on the surface. Okay, so you can just in simple language you can mention that, and then you can try to address the next part of the question. That is, yeah, that is the types of volcano that they have asked. So in these types of volcano, you can mention various types. For example, there is acidic lava that may comes out. Okay, then there is basic lava. Okay, based upon types of erosion, you can mention this two aspects. Okay, so if you talk about acidic thing, acidic lava, it is like very viscous in nature, less flowing. Then these volcano formations will be like steep slope volcanoes. In the basic lava, which is the Drekken trap kind of volcano, you will find the material is less viscous, and therefore it can freely flow on the ground, and hence it will form such a traps or such a layer to layer formations. Okay, which will not be having too much of huge slope like this kind of formation, this kind of volcano. So you can mention that based upon the volcanic eruptions, there are two types, acidic and basic. Then you can also mention that based upon the status, that whether it is dormant or whether it is inactive volcano. You can also mention like there are many active volcanoes are also there. You can mention the Pacific Ring of Fire. You can also draw a little bit diagram if you have time. So in the this kind of thing, you can show the USA, then the South America. Okay, and these all things are included in that. Okay, so here you can, yeah, I have just like this US kind of thing. You can draw like this in the right side. Okay, in the right side you can draw USA like this, and then you can draw South America. Okay, I'm not taking too much time, but just you can practice drawing like this, South America. Then this is Ring of Fire. This is China here. Okay, and South America here will be the Australia. This will be Australia. So likewise, this kind of thing you can just mention as a part of your presentation. Although here, because of lack of time and my practice is also missing after selection, so that may be the reason I am not able to draw it properly. But you can definitely draw it there. Okay, so that is there. Then you can mention about next part of question, ask you to mention structures associated. See, structures associated, it's a purely NCERT based questions. There are various structures. If for example lava, uh, if for example there is a horizontal kind of formation because of this thing, lava saturation, you can call it as a sill. Okay, if there is lava which is accumulated in vertical format, you can call it as a dike. Okay, so you can mention these features. Okay, then there is like batholith, which is based at the base. It's a dome shaped structure of volcano based at the base. Then you can mention about lopolith, phacolith, okay, which are given in the NCERT. Phacolith is like just a saucer shaped. It includes various synclines and anticlines. Okay, okay, so these kind of formations you can draw. Then these lopolith and lacolith, sorry, that is this, you can call it as a lacolith. I have just carried out that lacolith. So it's also dome shaped, but in this format, as against batholith, which is at the bottom. This can be at the top. Okay, this can be at the top. So that is with respect to lacolith. ठीक है, अपर सरफेस में वो डोम के शेप जैसा होता है. ओके, इट्स लाइक डोम शेप्ड एट अपर सरफेस. सो यू कैन शो दिस एग्जांपल्स एंड यू कैन राइट one line description about all these things. Okay, and that is more than enough in a way to address this question. Then they have just asked like structures associated with it, in which these are the core structures, and in that also you can mention like there are extrusive forms, like different forms of landforms that are formed. So for example, cinder shaped volcano, then caldera volcano. Okay, cinder shaped is like you have viscous lava, and it results into creation of these steep kind of formations, cinder formations. So that example you can certainly give. Okay, so for example, there is a volcano in Mexico. You can write as a example of this cinder shaped. Okay, then composite. In composite volcano, you will find that there is a viscous material as well as there is non-viscous material. Sometimes when pyroclastic material is there, then volcanoes slope will become steeper in nature, and when there is a viscous non-viscous lava, then its slope will become little bit of narrow, like a little bit of less steeper slope. Okay, so based upon that composition, it will vary. Okay, then there is a caldera volcano. What is this caldera? Caldera is like, it's a very explosive volcano. Here you will be having explosion of the volcanic material, and the same material will be falling down and will be creating crater like structure. Okay, so you can mention that caldera volcano is like also present, in which there is a depression. This is like depression which is being formed because of effect of this explosion as well as effect of gravity, in which material is coming back, and there is a formation of depressions on the top of the this game. Okay, so these are the things that you can definitely mention. Okay, so that is there. Let us come to the question number 13, and you can also mention examples associated with that. Examples थोड़ा थोड़ा रट लो, एकाद example per question also you can mention. Or if you are not getting examples, then no need to write explicitly examples. Okay, so it based upon your memory ability that you can imagine whether you can think of that while writing the answers or not. Okay, so depending upon that you will, but actually for such a things, at least presentation part should not be compromised. Okay, presentation is there, so you have to at least take care of your presentation. Okay, let us come to the question number 13. 13 number question talks about what do you understand by tropical cyclones. Elaborate how tropical cyclones differ from temperate cyclones. Now they have asked like what are tropical cyclones. Okay, tropical cyclones. You can directly mention that tropical cyclone is a phenomenon associated with weather and considered to be natural disaster and formed because of less pressure less pressure system that is developed in the environment. Okay, so that you can mention as an introduction. In tropical cyclone, you have to mention just characteristics, a few characteristics. For example, you can mention like it is high speed phenomenon. It is high speed. Then for formation of tropical cyclone, at least 27 degrees Celsius temperature is required. Then vertical wind shear is also needed. Vertical wind shear. Then also you can mention about Coriolis force, that is also needed. Coriolis force in a way to form these tropical cyclones. Okay. This Coriolis force will help rotating that system in right direction in the northern hemisphere and in left direction in the southern hemisphere. Okay. That is why that system gets formed. Okay. Then revolution is very important in the Coriolis force. Okay, so that also you can mention. Then regarding other thing, for example, tropical cyclone, they have asked how it is different from what your temperate cyclone. Then you can just make a table there. Okay, here you can write parameters. Here parameter number 1. ओके सो फॉर एग्जांपल पैरामीटर नंबर 1 में क्या लिख सकते हैं हम? दिस इज लाइक फॉर्मेशन दिस विल बी योर ट्रॉपिकल, दिस विल बी योर टेम्परेट. ओके, सो इन फॉर्मेशन you can write like this: thermal induced, and this is dynamically formed because of these your frontal forces and all this. Second thing you can write with respect to fronts, warm fronts वगैरह वगैरह tropical cyclone में नहीं होते. You will get fronts in temperate cyclones. Okay, then you can mention about wind speed. Wind speed is higher in which type of cyclone? Here it is higher. It is around 150 kilometer or more than 150 kilometer to 250 kilometer. But here you will get like wind speed range up to only 30 to 150 kilometer per hour. Here also you can mention kilometer per hour. ठीक है. डिस्ट्रक्शन में कौन ज्यादा डिस्ट्रक्टिव होता है? डिस्ट्रक्शन generally this tropical cyclone is more destructive and this is less destructive. You have to write this in sentence format, not in the format in which I am mentioning. Okay, then next point you can write about the like formation area. This you can see sea level formation is there. When it is getting converted to land, then there is a landfall. Okay, so it will not sustain on its own the energy, because on the land there is no moisture that is required for the tropical cyclone. But temperate cyclone can sustain itself on land as well as on sea. Okay, land as well as sea. So that is a basic difference, basic fundamental difference. Okay, so these are the basic differences that you can mention. You can also mention that tropical cyclone majority of times is formed because of easterly forces, moves from east to west, and this cyclone you can say that this is from your west to east formations. So because of westerly, they move from west to east. Okay, so that is a basic difference also you can mention. Then what they have asked again? Yeah, so you can also mention about the season in which they form. Generally tropical cyclone forms in the season of your high temperature, that is summer, and temperate cyclone generally forms majority of time in winters. Generally this tropical cyclone lasts for less than a week. Okay, but this temperate cyclone will last for more than 2 or 3 weeks. It may depend upon the situation to situation, but at least 2 to 3 weeks it may last. Okay, so that also you have to mention. Then with respect to other things, for example, you can mention that although these tropical cyclones and temperate cyclones differ, tropical cyclone helps India to get seasonal rainfall, even though that may result into sometimes the creation of a lot of destruction in the areas. For example, if you have seen the Amphan cyclone in the area of West Bengal, which has created a lot of destruction. Okay, so it has destructive as well as constructive effects. कंस्ट्रक्टिव में क्या क्या लिख सकते हैं, थोड़ा ड्रॉट वगैरह कम होता है, वाटर की अवेलेबिलिटी बढ़ती है, दैट यू कैन डेफिनेटली मेंशन इन अ कंस्ट्रक्टिव रीजंस. ओके, बट ओवरऑल या इट इज डिस्ट्रक्टिव इन नेचर, द ट्रॉपिकल साइक्लोन. ओके, so that you can mention. So you can just cite example of how Odisha has developed the system in a way to tackle the uncertainty associated with tropical cyclone. It may detect tropical cyclone and it may also create the early warning system, and it may tackle the issues associated with that. So early warning system, you can give it in the suggestion. Okay, so that is there. Let us come to question number 14. It talks about what are the aspects responsible for origin and modification of oceanic currents. Explain with example how they affect the climate of surrounding region. So you have been asked like what factors impacts the formation of oceanic current. Before that, I have yesterday only mentioned that you have to approach geography questions like what is a particular thing, what is a particular thing, then why it happens, that is its causes. Okay, and lastly its implications. This is the basic structure of geography answers. Now in this question they have asked us about the oceanic currents. So factors formation responsible for oceanic currents are many. One is temperature difference. Okay, temperature difference. Temperature leads to expansion of water at the tropical area or near the equator. Okay, so that is one of the reason for formation of oceanic currents. Before that, you can just define what are oceanic currents. So it's a orderly, regularly and seasonal flow of water, regularly and seasonal flow of oceanic water. Okay, oceanic water in predetermined direction. Okay, so that basic definition you can mention, and then you can go on explaining how temperature impacts. Then you can also talk about salinity. There is a flow from high saline area towards low saline area. Okay, so that also factor you can mention. Then you can mention about local winds that are also responsible for setting up of the acceleration for the speed of oceanic currents. You can also talk about the shape of your coastal areas. That also will impact formation of these cyclones. Okay, these oceanic currents. So these are the basic areas you can talk about. Apart from this, I think there are basically you can also talk about gravity as one of the important factor in a way to pull water down. Okay, so there is a cycle associated with water in which there is a flow of water from pole to the equator. So hot water will flow from equator to the pole. Okay, and cold water will sink at the pole and will flow back towards equator. Okay, so that is also important factor for the ocean currents that helps in a way to maintain temperature of pole region as well as at the equatorial region. Okay, so that also you can talk about. Then there are these are the basic factors that are responsible, and apart from that you can talk about this Coriolis force. So for example, if current is flowing in this direction in the northern hemisphere, the Coriolis force will act in the right direction. it will try to drift the direction of this current from this direction to this direction. Okay, so rightward movement. So that is also very important factor if you consider the formation of your oceanic currents. So these are the basic factors that you can mention. Then lastly, here, what are the effects of this thing that they have asked? Another part that they have asked is effect of these oceanic currents. So you can mention there are various effects, there are positives, negatives. For example, this is responsible for rainfall, oceanic currents. So if there is a warm oceanic current, it will lead to rainfall in the area of coastal regions. Okay, coastal regions. But however, if there is a like cold current, it may lead to desiccating effect in which the moisture of the given place is being withdrawn by this cold current, and that will result into desertification, as well as that will result into lack of availability of flora and fauna in that region. So it will lead to desertification. Then also you can talk about the mixing up of hot and cold currents. Okay, mixing up of hot and cold. So you may give example of Newfoundland. Okay, that is given in NCERT itself. Newfoundland area in which there is a mix of two currents, namely called as Gulf current. I am not exactly recollecting the name, but Gulf current is there, and Labrador. Okay, Gulf Stream, it is called Gulf Stream and Labrador current. Okay, and it has resulted into mixing up of both hot and cold water, and it has resulted into then formation of like what you call fishing areas in that region. Okay, so that also you can mention. So these are some of the effects of this thing, oceanic currents that you can mention. Okay, yeah, apart from this, is there any question that is asking? I think this is enough for this answer. Just you can mention that tropical cyclone are also being major force behind the formation of these oceanic currents. Many a times cyclones also decide the movement of water, that how it will proceed further. That is also there. And last is in the effect section, you can mention that there is a moderating effect of these oceanic currents many a times. Okay, oceanic currents. So, for example, the area of British Island receives the Gulf Stream from the southern side, and that has resulted into moderating climate of Britishers. Okay, otherwise Britishers were living in very low temperature. Okay, because of this current which is coming from the equator to the northern pole, and this coming from the higher temperature region, that leads to the moderating effect in the lower temperature areas like British Island. Okay, so that also you can mention. And in the end part, in the oceanic current situation, you can mention that there is a need to be study these oceanic flows proper together in a way to understand also climatic implications of these currents, that already we are studying, but still there needs to be thorough examination about this thing, climate and their oceanic currents. Okay, so that is about this question. Let us come to question number 15. Question number 15 talks about what are the factors affecting localization of textile industry in country. Provide for a spatial analysis. Now here the question itself talks about spatial analysis. Spatial means what? Spatial means with respect to space. So it is very mandatory that you will have to draw a diagram. So you can just draw the India's map in wherever way possible. Okay, because of lack of practice now, it is very difficult for me, but still I am trying. Okay, so it is not India in any sense, but let me just try once again. Okay. Okay, if you can understand this is India, then it is good. Otherwise, yeah. See, I'm not able to properly draw the diagram because of not practicing it. So it is very important to practice these things. But yeah, I will try to just highlight some of the areas. For example, you can mention Mumbai. Here it is Coimbatore. Here it is Ahmedabad. ठीक है. Here it is Bhopal. Okay. These are the major areas that are there, or here it is Lucknow, or you can mention Prayagraj. Major hubs. ठीक है. Just diagrammatic representation of such a thing is essential. If you have to draw a diagram within time, it is very essential. Like in this mains itself, I have used lot of diagrams, but I was practicing since then. Okay, I was practicing before mains for at least 3 months. So that is why it has become very easy in the way to draw diagrams in exam. But without practice, you cannot draw, like as you can see. Okay, so you can just mention these things, and then you can go about talking factors that are responsible, and this is very standard answer. Okay, you take any industry, there will be some factors. For example, raw material, that will be one factor. So in case of textile, it is availability of cotton. Okay, cotton. Second thing you will require is like power connection or electricity. Okay, so earlier it used to be only coal based, but now we are using electricity in power looms. There are advanced technologies. Okay. Thirdly, you can say that transportation availability, transportation, road networking, वगैरह वगैरह. These are common factors. Transportation. This will also lead to creation of market, availability of market. Okay. In transportation, you can also talk about availability of ports. That is why there is a more development of these industries in the western area of India as compared to the eastern area of India. Okay, so that also you can talk. Then availability of cheap labor, that is very important. Cheap labor for these industry, cheap labor. Okay, cheap labor is very important. So you can just mention about these factors. Apart from that, I think there are other things that are required, is like your capital availability. Capital availability. Then you can talk about government policy as well. Government policy. For example, government of India is running this scheme that is called as power tax. Power tax, in which they are giving incentive to individuals in a way to take power looms for their disposal. So power tax, etc. किंवा national टेक्सटाईल मिशन पण आहे आपली एक. टेक्सटाईल मिशन टेक्निकल टेक्सटाईल साठी पण आता चालू केलेली आहे, ते पण तुम्ही त्याच्यामध्ये लिहू शकता. सो या गोष्टी आहेत की ज्याच्यामुळं ती टेक्सटाईल इंडस्ट्री डेव्हलप व्हायला मदत होते. ठीक आहे. आणि तुम्ही एरिया मध्ये लिहू शकता की कुठले एरियाज आहेत जिथे टेक्सटाईल इंडस्ट्री डेव्हलप झालेली आहे. महाराष्ट्र आहे, तमिळनाडू आहे, कर्नाटक आहे, गुजरात आहे, MP आहे. ठीक आहे. These are the areas in which textile industries are well developed. As well as तुमचं वेस्ट बेंगॉल पण तुम्ही लिहू शकता. ठीक आहे. UP to a certain extent UP मध्ये पण आहे. ठीक आहे. These are the areas in which there is a development of this textile industry. त्यानंतर जॉग्राफीचा क्वेश्चन असल्यामुळे यू कॅनॉट मिस ऍक्च्युअली अ डायमेन्शन ऑफ जॉग्राफी. दॅट इज युअर अवेलेबिलिटी ऑफ रॉ मटेरियल मध्येच तुम्ही लिहू शकता की अरिड किंवा सेमी अरिड एन्व्हायरमेंट that is needed plus some form of wet environment that is needed for cultivation of these crops like cotton. ठीक आहे, सो ते तुम्ही त्याच्यामध्ये मेन्शन करू शकता. आणि ते एन्व्हायरमेंट डिपेंड करतं, म्हणजे महाराष्ट्राचं ते एन्व्हायरमेंट प्रॉपर आहे, त्यामुळं आपल्याकडं कापूस भरपूर तयार केला जातो. ओके, सो ते तुमचं रिझन तुम्ही लिहू शकता अवेलेबिलिटी ऑफ रॉ मटेरियल मध्ये. ठीक आहे, ओके, सो दीज आर द बेसिक फॅक्टर्स. आणि मग तुम्ही कन्क्लुजन मध्ये काय लिहिणार ह्याच्या, की you can just give futuristic conclusion in such question. Okay, you can mention that how the textile industry is important. It is contributing around 12% of India's exports. हे तुम्ही थोड्या फॅक्ट्स वगैरे लिहू शकता. It is giving employment to around 4 to 5 million population. 4 to 5 million population. Okay, so these are the facts that you can mention, and therefore there needs to be revival of textiles, revival of Indian textile. Why? Because we are facing competition from China, we are facing competition from Vietnam. Okay, in terms of cheap labor and all things, we are facing these issues. So there needs to be implementation of all the government policies at the grassroots level. So that also you can mention, and you can conclude this answer. Okay. Then question number 16 we can talk about. This question talks about India has witnessed rapid degradation of wetlands in recent times. Discuss the causes and explain in what way it will lead to water, food, and climate insecurity in the country, and suggest the solutions. Okay, suggest the solutions. Now, you can just start this answer by saying that as we know the wetlands are considered as the kidneys of the whole world because they have lot of carbon sink. ठीक आहे, कार्बन सिंक त्यांच्यामध्ये खूप मोठा असतो. कुठली जरी वेटलँड तुम्ही घेतली तरी कार्बन सिंक मोठ्या प्रमाणावर असतो त्याच्यामध्ये, कार्बन सिंक. ओके, सो दॅट इज वन थिंग. जस्ट गिव्ह मी 2 minutes. सॉरी. Okay. Here you can talk about carbon sinks that are there in the form of wetland. ठीक आहे, कार्बन सिंक्स. सो त्याच्यामध्ये तुम्ही हे म्हणू शकता, यू कॅन से दॅट दीज ऍक्ट्स ॲज अ किडनीज और ॲज अ मशीन्स ऑफ वॉटर प्युरिफायर्स. ठीक आहे, because ecosystem functions are being performed by these kidneys, like water recycling, nutrient recycling, etc. are being performed. Okay, and now these wetlands you can also mention like these are transitional landforms between your terrestrial ecosystem and your marine ecosystem, or terrestrial and aquatic ecosystem. Rather than writing marine, you can say just aquatic ecosystem. Okay, here aquatic. ठीक है, so that also you can mention. Okay, it has gone. Okay, that's not a problem. Okay, these type of things you can mention. And then you have been asked like why there is a degradation of wetland. Then in degradation factors you can mention different factors. For example, first factor is rapid urbanization, and that is why in city like Bengaluru there is a issue of even not having smaller lakes. Let us forget about bigger wetlands. Second thing you can say is that because of agricultural purposes, these wetland areas are disturbed. Okay, because of agricultural purposes, these wetland are disturbed. Third thing you can also mention is like draining water from out of these wetlands, draining of water. See, when there is a wetland, there is a combination of water and other material. Okay, other material. If you remove this water, other material will get exposed to the environment directly or to the air directly, and it will be again a degraded material that will be there in these thing. Or many times it happens that if you draw water out of this thing, out of wetland, then it seeks or sinks the water from other areas to fill that gap. And if water is coming from other areas, it will lead to destruction of even other wet ecosystems nearby that area. Okay? So water will not be growing, or plants will not be growing in a proper direction or in a proper sense in the other areas. So that also you can also mention. Okay, so these are the basic causes. Then you can talk about eutrophication. What is eutrophication? Eutrophication is use of excessive fertilizers, nutrients, etc., that are directly released in the wetland. Okay, and when these are directly released, there is a lot of degradation. There is also chances that wetland may face the issue of algal blooms, which again leads to degradation of further wetland ecosystem that is there in the region. Okay, so that also you can mention. Then you can also talk about threat of climate change to the wetland ecosystem. Threats like cyclones or natural disasters like drought. These are direct threat to the ecosystem of your wetlands. When there is a drought, there is no water that is available that should be there in the wetland. If there is a cyclone, the available amount of flora in that area will also get degraded. Okay, and again that also will result into various hazards with respect to that wetland. Okay, lastly you can also talk about introduction of invasive species in the wetland. Invasive species, so for example, there is a species called as water hyacinth. This various study have shown that this water hyacinth species has led to a degradation of biodiversity in the wetland area, because this becomes competitive to another species and leads to distortion of the resources that are present in the wetland, and hence other species cannot survive, or they can barely survive in that area. Okay, this is biodiversity. Okay, then you can just see the question. Question has asked about causes that we have already shown, like seen. Then it has also mentioning that explain in what way they will be leading to water, food, and climate insecurity in the country. And then they are suggesting give some of the steps to address that thing, address the degradation of wetland. Then we will see that how it is impacting our agriculture and all those things. Okay, if wetlands are gone, then agriculture will also be facing issue of climate change, because wetlands are the climate stabilizers. Okay, because of their storage of carbon storage. And if this is not there, then that will be very much harmful to the agriculture. That also you can mention. Then with respect to these wetland ecosystems, if they are not there, your other areas with respect to biodiversity will also impacted, because this ecosystem is considered to be as biodiversically rich ecosystem and may have some of the endangered species that are there. But if wetland is degraded, then this also thing will be the past of part of history. Then you can talk about the various ecological functions that wetland performs. These functions include water recycling, okay, or nutrient recycling. Okay, or this also includes the water storage, which acts as the shock absorber in situation of drought. in situation of drought. Okay, and in situation of floods, also wetland acts as a natural barrier, natural barrier, and also absorb excess of water, and hence can be called as shock absorber. Shock absorber. Okay, so this is the basic about this wetland ecosystem. Okay, so you can just mention this, and then they have again asked what are the measures that can be taken. So measures, you can say that reduce the flow of pesticides, herbicides in the wetland. Okay, then you can also talk about less diversion of land for the agriculture. Okay, agriculture. Then you can talk about elimination of invasive species, like water hyacinth, if there is that species there. Last, we can talk about community participation. In a way to address this thing, because this cannot be only addressed by the efforts of government. It is not possible. So you can mention that yes, these things are also important, community participation and all these things. Okay, so that's about this thing. You can also talk about like growing of native plants in the wetland area. Native plants, these will also act as a shock climate stabilizer. Okay, so that also you can mention. Then the next question we can see, and already efforts are being done, that also you can mention in a conclusion part. For example, you have various wetland management rules, you have Environmental Conservation Act, you have Water Act, etc. These are the other functionalities that are there in a way to manage your wetland ecosystem. That also you can also mention. Okay, so that's there. Then the next question is about dust storms. So what is question? What do you understand by dust storms? Discuss reasons behind their formation and their impact. Okay, so here they have just asked like what is the dust storm? Dust storm, you know that it is the environmental phenomenon. It is the climatic phenomenon associated with small sand particles, particles which are smaller in size, and they will be uplifted from one area. Upliftment from one area, they will be traveled to the another area, and then they will be getting settled. So whole this process is called as the dust storm process, in which there is a various force that will play impact. So for example, wind force is there, then there are other forces that are associated with this thing. You can also draw a diagram if you want in a way to show how dust storms forms. You can also show that dust storms majority times results into the area of high temperature, in which there is less vegetation, in which there are free dust particles that are available, especially the areas like Rajasthan, etc., that have less vegetation, and that results into the formation of dust storms because of availability of free particles in the environment. Okay, so that is there. And also in that area, it happens that because of lack of vegetation, there is no obstruction to the wind that is flowing in that area, and that leads to again high wind speed and formation of your dust storm particles. Okay, so that also you can mention. Okay, so this is the basic formation process, but they have also asked like what will be the impact of this dust storm. Now that is very important question. What will be the impact of this dust storm? Then you can mention its impacts. Okay, impact. First impact you can mention is on human health. So various diseases like asthma, then bronchitis, etc. These are formed because of these dust storms. Okay, the particulate matter 2.5, particulate matter 10. These are the particles that may go in our respiratory system and cause diseases like pneumonia, etc., etc. Various diseases. You can mention that. Second thing is dust storm. Okay. Second thing is productivity. Crop productivity also decreases because of various things. So for example, if there is a leaf, okay, if there is a leaf, okay, okay. Now, if that leaf is there and if dust is associated in these areas, okay, it will certainly reduce the amount of food that will be created through photosynthesis process. Okay, photosynthesis. So it will definitely impact the crop productivity and will hamper the productivity of crops. Okay, so that is another impact. Then third impact of this dust storm you can mention is on the various ecological formations. For example, river course, lakes. If there is excessive accumulation of this dust storm in the these kind of formations, it may result into their blockade. Okay, so these are the some of the impacts of dust storm. Then you can talk about, you can also talk about like visibility aspect. When there is a dust storm, you cannot drive your vehicle. You cannot see the person sitting in front of you even. Okay, so that visibility is also reduced. Accidents of vehicular, chances of vehicular accidents are also there. So that is also one of the impact of dust storm. And in a way to manage this thing, you can, in conclusion part, you can suggest in a way to manage these dust storms in a well regulated manner. You have to focus upon forestation, even in the areas which are less forested. So you can increase forestation. You can also focus upon dust storm breakers. Okay. So there are such a structures that you can ensure for your safety and survival in such a formation of dust storms. Okay, let's move to the next question, question number 18. So question is talking about discuss the type of migration and various challenges that migrating population is facing in India. Okay. Okay, then just we will discuss this migration. Actually, yesterday only we have discussed one question on migration. I am not recollecting what was that question, but yeah, here they have asked types of migration. Okay, types. You can divide migration into n number of types. For example, immigration that is happening in India, then migration from India to abroad. Okay, then migration for short term, then migration for long term. Okay, then migration of refugees. This is involuntary migration. Okay, then you talk about voluntary migration. That is because of economical reasons. Okay, or maybe because of lack of various push factors are there, and also pull factors are there. Yesterday that we have seen push factors, pull factors, all factors that are there associated with migration. Then you can also, for the sake of that, inter-country migration, inter-country and intra-country migration, intra-country migration. Okay, so these are the various types of migration that you can mention. Okay, then the question also talks about discuss types of migration and various challenges. Okay, so you can just give a representation of diagram. Again, I am not drawing India in very good sense, so understand me for that. Okay, so I will try still. I think this is a better version, but still, it is not that much better. Okay, just give me 1 second. Okay, so here you can talk about which are the migration states. So here is Rajasthan, here is MP, here is Uttar Pradesh, here is Bihar. Okay, so from here, where people are migrating, so these are the source areas. You can just uh, write the source areas of migration, and these are the destination areas here. Destination. So here is Maharashtra, here is Karnataka, here is Tamil Nadu. These are destination areas. Here is Delhi. Okay, so these are the source areas, these are destination areas. Migration, you can show arrows happening from here to here, here to here, here to here. Here is Gujarat. That is also area. Okay, so just you can mention this, and then you have to move to the next question. Okay, next part of the question. Sorry. Various challenges. What are challenges associated with migration? Next question is asking challenges. Challenges associated with migration. Now you have to just think multidimensionally. What can be the challenges associated with migration? One challenge can be, yes, migrants, laborers may not be paid their full wages. So exploitation can be another one challenge. Exploitation. Okay. Lack of full wage, etc. Then maybe bonded labors. That phenomenon we have observed in Karnataka, bonded labor. Okay, there is a wage issue, there is a huge exploitation issue. Okay, that you can talk about. Second thing you can talk about, basic facilities like education facilities, health facilities. They may not be getting access to these facilities because they may or may not have documentations. Okay, documentation. Then there is a thing that you can call as challenges because of son of preference, son of the soil, son of the soil doctrine. Because of that, local will be having hatred towards these migrants. Then you can, another challenge is lack of migrant registry, migrant registry. Okay, that also you can mention, and that is why targeting this population becomes difficult. And that is why we have seen during COVID-19 how the whole issue of migrants was the hidden issue, and it came to the surface very immediately, or very unfortunately it has come to the surface. Okay, so that also you can mention. Then what are another issues associated with migration? You can talk about migration sometimes lead to overburdening of some places. Then it may lead to slum creation in the urban areas. Slum creation may not have health education access, as well as it may have higher crime rate. Crime rate is also higher. Then it may also result into other things associated with this women safety issues. Those also you can mention, women safety issues. Okay, so these are the basic things that you can mention as a challenges of migration. Any other thing that you can think of, you can also mention. Okay, so that is the thing. And in the conclusion part, you can just mention that how this thing is important, how one, that is the thing associated with your registry creation. Migrant registry should be there, that you can mention. Second thing, you can also talk about giving आता जे आपण चालू केलंय, that is one nation one card. So one nation one card, which is this card? This is ration card. Okay, so this is also you can mention. Okay. Next question we will see, that is question number 19. This is a part of conclusion, right? This is part of conclusion. Okay, so this thing. Then next question we will see, that is question number 19. A policy of population control should be focused on choice rather than restrictions. Discuss. Now, why this question is asked? Because presently you might have come across in the newspaper, there was discussion with respect to UP's population policy, which is being criticized as a coercive policy against the policy focusing upon the transformation of individuals. Okay, so that is also in the news, and that is why this question is being asked by the paper setter. Now, with respect to this thing, the question is asking that population policy is required, but it should not be based upon restrictions. It should be based upon the transformation of individuals by their choice. By their choice, they will be able to decide how many child they want, how many child they can sustain, etc. Okay, so addressing this question, you have to think multidimensionally, like what will be the negative consequences if one is focused upon the coercive measures. Okay, so we will discuss these consequences. For example, if there is a coercion, let us change this. If there is a coercion, people can be deprived of the basic government subsidies. People can be deprived of. Okay, subsidies people can be deprived of. Then they will not be able to access government schemes. Okay. Then if there is a coercion, we are looking that there are coercions in the form of non availability of election contestation. Means what? If you have 3 child, you will not be able to participate in the election as an election candidate. Okay. This there is a study that has shown that this has direct impact upon the participation of vulnerable sections, including SC population, ST population, and OBC population, in which there is a prevalence of poverty, and that is why there is a higher fertility rate. Okay, so if you have to address this exclusion, how will you address? That is also very big problem. Then third thing, there can be sun meta preference, because if you limit child number to 2 only maximum, people will at least try to have 1 male child because of our patriarchal society. Okay, and this will lead to sex selective abortions. Okay, that is also not good. Okay, in China we have already tried this project, and in China the project has now failed, and China is now trying to shift from 2-child policy to maybe 3 or 4 child policy. So demographic disaster can be there. Like in China, there are many of older people as compared to younger people. Okay, so their dependency is also very high. Their dependency is also very higher on the younger population, and that cannot be sustained if population is not controlled in an organic manner. It is controlled in a very coercive manner. Okay, that also demographic disaster can be there. Then there is a already replacement ratio in India. We are reaching towards 2.3% is the present fertility rate in India. and we are very much closer to a replacement rate, which is 2.1%. So there is no need to have such a coercive policies in the first place. Instead, you can focus upon creation of awareness through family planning centers, awareness, okay, giving access to the contraceptives to the females, contraceptives, and also to the males. Okay, so that is thing. Then third is you can instead focus upon other measures of incentivizing and disincentivizing rather than directly politically excluding people. Okay, so these things you can write. Also, for sun meta preference, there is a one negative that women also may face physical abuse if there is no birth to child which is boy child. Okay, she may also be at the receiving end because of patriarchal society. Again, it is not good to have patriarchal society, but it is a harsh reality in India that society is still very much patriarchal. Okay, so these are the basic things that you can mention in this question. Now let us see the last question of this test. Okay, now you might have seen how multidimensionally we can think over such a questions. See, these are very generic kind of questions. You can just have thinking process. You can just try to create multiple dimensions out of one question, and you improve your GS. That is the only basic strategy. You think, and you try to create multiple dimensions out of questions. You try to elaborate your arguments by giving facts. Okay, so that is the thing. Then last question. What do you understand by scheduled tribes? Examine the dilemma related with development of tribes in India. Now, scheduled tribes, they have asked scheduled tribes. So, if you are aware about history, scheduled tribes is mentioned in 1935 Act, and these were the people who were excluded from mainstream exclusion. They do not have private ownership. Many times there is a common ownership of property. They have their own customs and traditions apart from the mainstream society that we live in. Okay. For example, custom tradition of tribals believes in equality. Okay, so they do not have class distinction as such, or earlier they do not had that class distinction. Now it is becoming visible, but still also another factor you can consider, caste divisions etc. were not there in tribals at the initial phase. So these are the basic characteristics of being tribals. And now what questions ask? Okay, so question is asking about dilemma related to development of tribal people. Very easy question. Dilemma. What is dilemma? Dilemma is two choices that you are having. Two choices. So what are tribal related dilemmas? First thing is to whether to accommodate them or whether to integrate them. That is one dilemma. Integrate them. Okay. Okay, that is one dilemma. Second dilemma, integration is like total mixing. Accommodation is like you respect their culture also, and you try to change them little bit towards your culture. But this is very kind of harsh policy towards them. Then you have to mention about the dilemma of development. If we try to impose our form of development, it may result into class-based society, which they are not. Okay, that is another dilemma. Then with respect to other things, there is dilemma that you can say that tribal cultures, many times they believe in equality of male and female. But if mainstream values goes there, then they also become patriarchal, which is very sad reality. Okay, so these are the dilemmas that you can talk about. Then you can also talk about modernization versus traditional culture. Like traditional culture. This you can elaborate. For example, modernization, our medical knowledge, whether to give that knowledge to the tribals or whether to take their traditional knowledge with respect to uh, traditional medicines for us, traditional medicines. Okay, this is also another dilemma that you can mention. Is there anything like you can also talk about tribal rights versus utilitarianism or developmental needs. Needs. This is also very classic dilemma. Like for example, if you have to build a dam, okay, you have to build a dam for, let's say, benefiting 2 lakh people, okay, 2 lakh people, but for that you are displacing tribal families, for example 300 families. So whether to displace these tribal families or not, that is the biggest classical dilemma. Utilitarian philosophy you learn in GS4, okay. The same dilemma you will see in this kind of situation, whether tribals should be totally replaced or they should be rehabilitated or they should not be touched at all, their area should not be touched at all. You can also mention about forest rights, their forest rights, okay. So whether to give them right to utilize all the minor forest produce or whether to give just regulated rights, that is also a classic dilemma that we are facing in terms of tribal development. Okay, so these kind of things you can mention in this thing, and in the way forward, if you have to solve this dilemma, you can just mention that already we had a Panchashil policy, you had a Zaza committee report, okay, you have aspirational district program. Read all these, read all these. Aspirational district program focuses upon convergences of various government schemes. Okay, okay. Zaza committee recommendation is with respect to tribals. Please go through it. Zaza committee recommendations. Panchashil policy, you know, given by Pandit Nehru. Please go through this also. So it talks about accommodating tribals rather than integrating them. Means they should also have their cultural rights according to this Panchashil policy. Okay, so these are the basic things that you can mention. Apart from that, government has already taken step, that is Forest Right Act, that has already been enacted by the government. So you can also mention about this Forest Right Act and giving rights to the tribal in a way to have their own empowerment. Okay, so this is the basic thing that you have to mention in a way forward. Okay, so that is all about today's test. I hope that it has been found helpful to you, and just a last advice that just practice answer writing and practice mapping. That is very important. If you practice mapping for at least 1.5 months, you will be easily able to draw maps in the exam, and one map will add at least 1 or 2 marks in your mains marks. Okay, and 1 or 2 marks you can just mention. I will just want to give example that on my rank is 445. There are 10 or 12 people on the same marks. Okay, so you can just imagine the amount of competition that is present in the situation. Okay, so in a way to increase your score by 1 marks, if you increase just by 1 mark, you will get 10 to 12 marks, 10 to 12 rank lead, and whole thing will be changed. Your service will be changed, your cadre will be changed, everything will be changed. Okay, at least your cadre will change. Okay, so these are very important things that you should focus. Okay, so I think this is for today's lecture, and we will meet 1 or 2 times more before this main sessions ends. Okay, so let us hope that you will study a lot, study hard, and study fast with lot of perseverance and lot of concentration and lot of strategy orientation. about this UPSC exam. So all the best to all of you again, and I think we will stop here. Okay, thank you.